Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
And Cody Geiler.
Hey, how's it going?
Going great, gentlemen. Going great. We've got a big show to talk about. Lots of little notes here and there. Been not doing this episode for a couple weeks, so we've got some build up on news. Big news to talk about is really the Bad Batch trailer that just released the other day. Of course, the big reveal of the full cast that's coming in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series also. But first, I didn't even send this to you guys because I actually just reminded myself of this note. We were just talking before we started recording about Casey, who is expecting twins very, very shortly, his own Luke and Leia. And so obviously he's going to be definitely on maternity leave for a while and not being on the show. So I wanted to bring that up really quick because our last show, Casey, we episode 323, if anybody wants to go back, if you missed it or if you want to go check it out again, we kind of reintroduced ourselves and talked about what this show how it started and, how it's evolved and the things that we're doing going forward. But now we're official, Case. We're 8 years into this show now.
We crossed our anniversary date. There you go.
Our anniversary date. March 25th, 2013 was our very first show that we put out. So happy anniversary.
We ourselves back then. We can do like a side by side, like what's that meme that was going around, like how the decade started, how it ended?
How it started and how it's going or something?
Yeah, how it's going. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
How podcast started, how it's going. Yeah.
I will say, though, and I'm very proud of this, that the opening is same, the exact same. We have not changed the opening.
Yeah.
Which means that I feel why I'm proud is because I feel like we anticipated the longevity of this series and that we worded it in a way that it was evergreen. So I'm really proud of that. Like, it's the same opening. It's our good friend that we all work with, Mike Friedman, that's voicing it, that voiced it for us back then. And it's I just happened to listen to it again, made sure it's the same opening, same music, same sound effects, everything. So
at this point, it's in everybody's head, just like the Smallville intro. After 10 years, same song.
Somebody save me. Yeah, that's right.
You just know it when you hear those first words.
Yeah, that is awesome. And of course, through the years, we've had people on and off come and guest and appears, but now happy to say and proud that we got Cody here as a steady voice of the Star Wars universe for us. So Cody, what do you think? I don't know what point. I'm trying to think of one point. I've known you for a long time. We started working together though, what was that, 2015, 2016?
2016.
Yeah. So we were 3 years in the podcast. When did you know, or when did you actually find out about us doing this show? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, I feel like Casey had talked about the podcast, and then at different points, I mean, we always talk Star Wars, and then at some point I found out that he did a podcast and, started listening. And I think, shortly after, sort of met you, Dave, I had guested on the podcast, I feel like a while back. Maybe we were just graduated college, Casey. I can't quite remember
what
it was, but there's an old episode that was like probably my first time as a guest on the podcast. We could probably dig it up for next time. And if anybody wants to go back and listen to very early days. But that was, I feel like that was before we started working together, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would be right. Do you remember? Because back then, I was trying to look because I thought I had the notes on it. Do you remember, Case? We used to end each episode with trivia, and we had our guests always do the trivia. Do you remember doing trivia, Cody? Because I kept a record of whatever everybody got right or wrong.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if I got stuff right or wrong.
It was the worst, like the hardest trivia book. It was just a very thick book of like 1,000 facts or something like that, but they were very detailed facts.
Wait, here it is.
Oh.
I don't see your name, Cody, so we must have stopped doing it.
Saved me from the trivia.
We stopped after a while. We realized, you know what, this is too hard.
Everybody got them wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that and we, they were non-canon questions, right?
Sure,
there were a ton of them from the from the expanded universe. So we're like, what? How do you know this? So anyway,
yeah, we definitely talked about expanded universe stuff. I feel like I don't know. I probably mentioned one of my favorite EU characters on that episode, Hewlett Caldroma. Haven't talked about him in a long time, but I feel like that came up at some point in that episode. But
I need to look back on that. But yeah, we the very first episode was called Queen of the Core. We were highlighting and profiling people, locations, technology, and the first one we did was Coruscant, which was this is nicknamed Queen of the Core. And we talked about the Disney merger, the Disney buyout of Lucasfilm, and what and then the description said rumors of episode 7, right? So it's crazy to think we're through that trilogy now, that sequel trilogy, awaiting all this Disney Plus content, and we're still kicking 8 years later. So but of course, thank you, Casey, for sticking with me all these years, and Cody, thanks for joining us now and talking Star Wars. So thanks for everybody.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's just hit it right off the bat. I think the big news was the Bad Batch trailer that got released. We are just over a month away until this thing debuts on May the 4th. And I don't know, this trailer to me really set up a lot. And I got a lot more information, I feel like, out of this trailer. I feel like I somewhat know now when this takes place. And I think we know what the beginning stages of this series is, which to me is these guys are the target and they're on the run. I think it does hint that obviously they survive or are not affected by Order 66, I guess, or else they got help maybe from. Well, I don't think they could have gotten help because no one else really knew about it. But I don't know. Case, just right off the bat, first impressions of the trailer, and what do you think about the series coming?
It was, definitely keeping the adrenaline going from the first trailer. It was, they're really highlighting all the fun Clone Wars action that made that show so amazing. So it's cool that's going to just kind of roll into all the same things that we love. But yeah, and one thing story-wise that a couple of things that caught my attention. One, it seemed like they might spend some time, maybe the first whole episode, who knows, or the bulk of the first episode, and just the origins of Bad Batch, which would be pretty cool.
Yep.
So we'll cross over. It will, overlap, for who knows how long, how much into that era. And then I guess I'm sure obviously advance up to present day, Order 66. But the second one, is this kid that they pick up along the way. So did not expect a fun new young kid to grow to love, and hopefully he's, that character sticks with. I don't know if we have a name for that character yet, but
I didn't see a name, but I did see some tweets about somebody overseas in a different country. I couldn't remember, but they are talking about how in their subtitle language that the kid is described as a girl, as a she.
Okay.
That I don't think there's a name though, but I don't know, Cody, you're about.
The captions, if people ever watch the YouTube trailers with captions, a lot of times they'll put the name of a character in the captions. So they actually have a name when she talks. I believe it's a she as well, just based off the sort of headpiece with the jewel. Kind of feels a little more like, female character. But her name listed on there is Omega. Which is super interesting to me because, a lot of the clone, a lot of military lingo, falls into that. Like, I guess, the first batch of clones, if you want to talk in batches, was probably Alpha.
Yep.
A whatever. You've got a lot of them are like CT, when you get into Rex's group and whatnot. So it'd be super interesting. Just sorry to dive in here, but I feel like she being named Omega could be the last clone.
Yes.
And probably a Bad Batch-esque, like, I don't know how they made a female clone of Jango, but she does kind of resemble clone cadets in a way, at least
Life
to me.
Finds a way.
Yes.
You never know.
In fact, when I first saw it, my initial thought was how cool would it have been if that was actually like Boba Fett or that, learning to, going off on that, but we know that he's somewhere else at this point. But it did revert to me. Like, it looks like that age stage of clone, but I was like, I don't know. But I watched it a couple times. It looks like it's Camino in the background kind of, but it just I didn't think of it being the way she was dressed, or I was thinking the kid at the first time, but the way she's dressed, it doesn't look like she's a clone, but it could be just that.
That would be crazy. So that was I'm excited for however long that character sticks with the story. But other than that, it still feels like, I feel like we've kind of talked about like this. If they're on the run, that would be pretty cool. But also feels like still that mercenary, like they're going to just kind of be on the run, but along the way have these fun little missions and whatnot. But it's interesting to me that I don't know if we've seen Tarkin yet as like one of the main villains. I can't remember if he was in the first trailer, to be honest, but to see that that they're actually pursuing them. We're given the impression for a while, I guess, like that might be the good arc of the show, but I still hope that we get that kind of Magnificent Seven or whatever it is, that kind of these guys are just going through towns and saving people along the way while they're hiding out. But who knows? Maybe this kid, that comes along with them, maybe that's also driving the plot some way. They have to get her somewhere, who knows? But definitely exciting still, very, very much on board with this show so far.
Yeah. Cody, thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it felt very similar. I mean, obviously tonally, it's, supposed to feel similar as the first trailer, but a lot of this trailer beats kind of felt similar to me, the darker vibe, things like that. I don't know that it trailer wise, it necessarily like moved the needle a lot for like, getting me into, the actual story or the show itself, but I thought it was well done. I like that there was that angle of like a little bit of looking at, because some of the moments, like it was showing that kid introduced to the Bad Batch or actually naming off the different Bad Batch. And I think she actually has a New Zealand accent, which was another clue to be like, ooh, she's probably a clone of some sorts because, Django, and whatnot, and that character, and even D. Bradley Baker kind of sometimes has that accent. But anyway, I thought that hopeful kind of vibe of seeing things through a kid's eyes, that classic sort of shot, I feel like we've seen a lot where a kid's in a cockpit seeing hyperspace or something for the first time. Those sort of like family, centering it around hope. I feel like those kind of things, that Dave Filoni has the best interest of what a good story is going to be and what's going to feel like authentically Star Wars. So right. I feel like that was there. And that little bit of like individuality of the Bad Batch characters themselves, them being clones that are different, may even lead to what this kid character has. So I think it really did kind of solidify some of those themes a little more, which I thought were kind of neat. if they kind of explore some of that in depth, like the Clone Wars was able to with the clones. My biggest question is, is there going to be a Force aspect to the show? They haven't hinted at it at all. A lot of even Mandalorian never hinted at that in any of the marketing and whatnot. We kind of thought we were getting a show that was just about the Mandalorian, and then it turned out to have Baby Yoda in it and Grogu. So I wonder if they have something up their sleeve that they're not showing. So I'm interested to see stuff like that if it were to pop up.
I'll answer that question easily. I think it's inevitable. I think it's silly to think that Vader's not going to be in this thing. I think there's going to have to be an Ahsoka cameo at some point, whether or not she becomes a part of the series. Like, I think very similar to Rebels, where she kind of popped in for a little while and then popped out. No, I don't. But that's the thing. I think it's tough to say what the focus of it could be, because just like Mandalorian, like you say, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a Force aspect anymore because Grogu's gone now, right? So now it could be more about the Mandalorian, but there could be something in there. I think Vader, what would be cool, and again, I don't think this is going to happen, but this kind of leads to my next point about the story is, I think what would be really neat is, because again, what I'm grasping out of this trailer is that, totally agree with you, Casey. I think we're going to see the origins, especially, we got to state the fact that the premiere is a 70-minute premiere, right? 70 minutes of this opening, whatever. If it's 2 episodes, 3 episodes, or if it's 1 episode, we don't really know. Clone Wars was pretty much a 22 to 25-minute show per show. I don't know if this is going to change that or not, but when you look at the origin of these guys, I think it's going to happen that way. And then, of course, like you said, I think there's going to be Order 66. I mean, we may even see, 1 or 2 missions still from the Clone Wars that these guys are involved in. And then ultimately, I think Order 66. And then when these guys go on the run and you hear Tarkin kind of deem these guys the target, I think what would be cool is, at least in this first season or this first arc or something, is that, because you see them somehow hook up with Rex, right? Because Rex is in the trailer. What if they are trying to save clones, get the chips out of them? Because I'm assuming the chips are somewhat permanent, right? Once they turned on, and now that these clones are, their mindset of, okay, the Emperor is my master and the Jedi are evil, I think that mindset doesn't go away. I think it's there, right? So maybe they're trying to save clones, and in that sense, well, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's been revealed this way, but the Inquisitors that Vader sends out, I mean, it'd be neat if they commanded legions of clone troopers, right? That still went out and hunted these Jedi or hunted people that were against the Empire. So that's where I think you could have some Force and, dark side aspects to the show, right? They're fighting these Inquisitors and led by Vader and whatnot. So that's kind of where I'm seeing this thing go in the beginning, because the kid, I think saving the kid and I don't know, kind of like Mandalorian. I don't know if they have a mission to where they need to take this kid or they're trying to just protect the kid, but seems like there's definitely an aspect of that. So I don't know. So what'd you guys get Casey, out of the cameos that we saw? Like Rex and Saul Guerrero, of course, was a little part of that also.
Yeah, I haven't analyzed the trailer enough because I wasn't sure if it was Saw Gerrera. I assumed it was, because I didn't. It's been a while since I've seen those Clone Wars episodes. I didn't know if I recognized the voice actor, but yeah, I assumed it was. I mean, it's cool. I didn't expect to see Saw Gerrera, but I don't know why I didn't. I'm not surprised. It makes total sense that they would run to it. And that's kind of what I guess what I was hoping, and I might have alluded to this when we talked about the show previously, where the direction it can go, where obviously the trend with these other Dave Filoni-esque shows is, starts off with a small intimate story, then these guys just get wrapped up into these larger things. They meet Saw Gerrera and they get involved with those partisans or rebel cells, and then they meet Fennec Shand and get wrapped. So it's like they meet all these other heavy hitter Star Wars characters that we now know. Then it gets to a big deal. Then the series will end back where it started, kind of with just these characters. So that's fun, and I'm excited to see more cameos. I'm sure there'll be plenty more. Like you said, Vader will probably show up, and on the hero side, I'm sure Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, like why not? I'm sure all these guys are going to show up. It's that fun trend that Rebels kind of set. So very cool, and yeah, and also with Rex, of course, he would run into Rex, but I'm just eager to see how much this overlaps with Clone Wars, and then where Clone Wars left off. So if we see Rex, we're going to see Ahsoka. A lot of possibilities, but who knows?
Yeah,
those are always fun.
Yeah, I forgot Cody about Fennec Shand making an appearance in this. So what do you think about the cameos, and do you expect any of these other people popping in?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Casey kind of mentioned it, and it's like, this is a Dave Filoni show, and you even said it, Dave, where it's like, the possibility of Ahsoka popping up is pretty likely given the timeline. We saw Rex in the trailer. I love that Rex is in it. I love that they went ahead and told us it.
Yes.
I kind of felt like they could have done a bigger moment in the trailer, maybe like music cue wise. Like I just kind of imagine him like walking out of the shadows, like Captain America and like Infinity War or something. I don't know. I've been on a Marvel kick recently, so maybe that's on my brain. So I just kind of envision that a little bit differently reveal wise. Maybe in the show they'll do it a little bit different. But yeah, I like the idea of having somebody like Rex bring them into a larger story. Hey, let's save these clones, or maybe this Omega last clone kid has like a cure of sorts. I don't even know how that story would work, like in her blood, or why she's different from the other clones. I don't even know how that would work with the chips. But maybe there's something like that. As far as other characters, like I think this trailer, I feel like kind of told me a bit more about where Fennec's going to be placed. Like if Tarkin is having them hunted down, she's probably a bounty hunter. She's probably a bounty hunter working with the Empire. Just whoever the highest pay. And I think she was working with the Empire when we first saw her in Mandalorian, right?
I don't know if we knew who her original employer was.
A rendezvous with the Empire, maybe. Maybe it wasn't Empire, but for some reason that's what I'm thinking. But I feel like Fennec will probably start hunting them down. I don't know if that will continue like a whole like cat and mouse thing, or if she will actually become like an ally at one point. I think that would be cool if she does. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this, Saw, of course, Saw is going to pop up everywhere. It totally makes sense. Those seeds of like the Rebel alliance, starting, it feels a little bit similar to Rebels. But maybe there's ways that they can do it. I feel like this show is going to explore like, what is your place in the galaxy? I think that line was even kind of said. I don't know if it was Forrest Whitaker that was voicing Saw in this, or if it was
it was the original. Actor. It was the original one from Clone Wars.
From Clone Wars, okay. I guess it makes more sense timeline wise.
Yeah,
but yeah, so there's probably some stuff like that where the Bad Batch, characters themselves are going to be kind of thrust into this. Hey, the Clone Wars have ended now. Clones are on the wrong side. What are you all going to do? All they've done is, they've been in military. So they've got to find a new place in the world. And if their place is to, rebel against the Empire, maybe they are kind of the beginning of the Rebel alliance in some ways. Kind of a weird thing to think about, but.
Right. Yeah. The last thing I want to kind of hit on this thing, this trailer, thinking about it is, because I've also see some tweets about this, and I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing. A lot of people are saying, I don't know if you've seen the meme, like it says Lucasfilm, no, you can't make Clone Wars season 8. And then Filoni says, okay, well, what about Bad Batch? And it's like, is this Clone Wars season 8, right? Pretty much is, I think
all the Bad Batch arcs he had planned.
Well, here's the thing. I went back and looked up what they called at first for a while there, the Clone Wars Legacy, right? Which is unfinished storylines that they put on the shelves because the series got canceled, right? Well, some of those has obviously come to fruition, right? Darth Maul's Son of Dathomir became a comic book. The 8 episodes, 4 from season 6 and 4 from season 7, that made up the whole story of Asajj and Quinlan Vos, right? End up being a book called Dark Disciple. And then you had the Ahsoka storyline about her, leaving the Order and finding work in Coruscant. That ended up getting rewritten into what we saw in season 7. And then, of course, you had the Bad Batch episodes that became season 7. You had the Crystal Crisis on Utapau. Now that has not been translated into anything or has not been finished. But let me just go through a couple of these arcs because I actually believe that some of these could make it into this series, right? So you have what was called the Bounty Hunter arc, and Casey, I think you remember this one from Celebration. It was the whole thing with Boba Fett being trained by Cad Bane. I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if that shows up in this series. We see Boba Fett in the armor, and he gets that shot, in the helmet that's behind you, Cody. I totally expect something like that to happen. You've got also there's what's deemed the Rex and R2 Top Gun episodes. Like Rex gets in a starfighter with R2, and there's a big space battle, and stuff like that. There's not really too much information beyond that, but that seems logical. Maybe it's not R2 because at this point R2's with Captain Antilles, right? So probably, maybe not. Maybe it will happen because he's part of the rebellion in a sense. You've got see, like the Mon Cala. There's a Mon Cala one that actually got retconned because continuity, because of the comics that changed that. Siege of Mandalore, which we ultimately end up getting. But anyway, those are a couple of the things. There was a Yuuzhan Vong storyline, not the full storyline, but they came across it that possibly could happen. I don't know. Any am I crazy to think that some of these aren't going to make it in, Case?
I always think Boba Fett could that arc, or even if it's just, I don't know, if they want to dwindle it down to an episode, I feel like that could easily fit into a show like this. I feel like we talked about maybe it could show up in that last season of Clone Wars, but it could easily be. It has to be reworked, I think, a little bit. I mean, it could easily be reworked a little bit to fit into this. So why not? I mean, I was gonna say, like, to your point of like that joke of, this is season 8. Like, well, I wonder if Filoni will be like, I got this other show. It's about Boba Fett growing up with these bounty hunters. It's a spinoff of this, with Fennec Shan. So I think there's tons of ideas you can do, and you can put them all in this show, make it all fit, or he can just keep going and just keep expanding this universe. So that would be awesome. And because that is the arc that always, lingers with me in terms of unfinished stories that should be told. I mean, and then look, there's other, with that arc, if you're bringing in bounty hunters with Fennec Shan, you can bring in multiple bounty hunters, and Aura Singh, and obviously because she was a part of that Boba Fett one, and then now that Solo has come out since then, you have those bounty hunters introduced there, and so it's like you have more characters to play with, and so I think there's even more possibilities now.
Cody?
I agree. I mean, I feel like some of these could pop up. The Boba Fett one, you guys already nailed it. It's the clone connection. You rework it a bit. I think Boba would be a character that's sort of a one-off episode. Like the Bad Batch might try to be like, "Hey, you're one of us," and he's like, "No, I'm not," and like does his own thing because that would be his response. But I think you could kind of rework that. It seems like the Bad Batch are going to kind of go from planet to planet, maybe getting involved in, criminal things, helping people, just all kinds of different, on the run. I think the Rex stuff seems like it's also a shoe-in just because we already saw Rex in this and like Rex in a, ship or something doing like, some kind of Top Gun type thing.
Yeah.
Obvious. I mean, some of the other ones, probably not just because of the timeline. But yeah, I think it's possible.
I want to say I can't find it. Maybe I was wrong about that. I could have swore the arc was originally intended to be the friend. No, okay, yeah, I was wrong. I thought the Crystal Crisis on Utapau, when they released those story reels, that the Bad Batch was actually involved in that, but I don't think they were. I think they were just involved in their arc that we ended up getting last season in season 7. Anyway, yeah, lots of discussion I know we'll have in the coming weeks as we lead up to this premiere. But I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of new information in this trailer that really sparks some ideas now that we can have for where this thing is going to go. So we'll talk about it as it comes for sure. All right, some real quick news. Let's see. First, there was a VFX reel that came out for Mandalorian season 2. It's award season, so they're trying to win some votes there and win some awards for that. So I don't know. I was what VFX reels are VFX reels. They show what they do. I didn't feel like on this one, I feel like they didn't highlight the volume as much as they probably should have. Like they did a couple times, like, here's the volume. Here's one. What's that?
I think they showed just one.
I think so too. Yeah.
Where they outlined it.
Which means that either they used it a lot more and they just didn't highlight it, or they just didn't want to focus on that. But
old news.
Right.
It felt like they almost made a statement to be like, hey, we did a lot more VFX that wasn't the volume on this season, which may have been the case because there were a lot of shots that seemed like there were shots of, we kind of could sometimes you could tell, but the stormtroopers on the speeder bikes going over the canyon, obviously you didn't do that practically, but it's like it looks so good. You're like, they made an entire stormtrooper in a speeder bike, and like not a single part of that shot I think was practical. Right. So it just does a testament, I think. Like you said, it's a VFX reel, but it just shows that like ILM is like the best at what they do. Like, for Star Wars, obviously, but then ILM works on a lot of other blockbuster movies, a lot of other content that's, and they're just so awesome at it. Because some of them, it was just like a shot of like a grassy road.
Yeah.
I think it was from the one with Bill Burr's character. And it's just like the only shot is like somebody like with a camera driving on a road.
Yes.
And then everything else they popped in is just fake. And you're just like, what in the world?
Yeah, I love watching VFX reels it's always fun seeing that. And this one, it was a testament to just showing how much effort they're putting into a Disney Plus show. Going back to the Andor reel, I guess, when they say like they're making this with everything, they're making it feel, they're throwing everything into it to make it feel like a movie.
Yeah,
and that definitely is true. And I want to know, because when they were really de-skinning everything and like showing like the modeling of a lot of these animals and characters, like I wonder if they are still using the Unreal Engine to help with that, and I wonder if I feel like they are still probably doing that, I would guess, even though this is ILM, maybe they're still using some of that technology or working with those Unreal guys to help speed the process along, because I don't know. I was just something that was thinking about it because it does look like very fantastic for it to be a fast turnaround type of workflow, and but yeah, it was really cool, and I definitely talking about, go back to the volume, like they should have still shown more, because I remember them talking about things in the first galleries season where they were saying we're already improving on it for like season 2, like they're making it bigger and better. So like we need to see that, like how have they made the volume bigger and better,
right?
And but yeah, we only get that one. It was back to the Bill Burr episode where they're on that prison junkyard planet, and
yes,
it was just showing like this is real. This is LED wall. They didn't even say volume; they said LED wall. So yeah, they should have done more of that.
Yeah, I would think so. But like you said, they may be. I probably should have looked this up, but I'm not sure if they probably won something last year with the effects. I don't know if they did or not, but you would think that having that breakthrough of using the volume, that they maybe won some awards last year with that. So, but maybe not. So that's out there.
I think the season 2 behind the scenes, I think it was more just like a feature link behind the scenes, had a bit more shots of the volume. They didn't spend as much time talking about it as they did in the previous season, where they like spent a whole episode on it.
Right.
But they had a lot more shots in the background where you could tell, when they were used. Obviously, the planet that's the like water, like the sort of wharf area. They had the walkway with some like containers and creatures, but everything in the background, was the volume stuff. So there's a bit of that in there. So maybe ILM wasn't as involved with that part if they had dedicated people working on what actually goes on the LED wall from, the Unreal Engine, like you mentioned. Maybe there's less involvement with ILM if it's an in-camera thing, and maybe that's why they focused more on some of the stuff that they didn't capture in camera.
Right.
Good point. I was expecting though to see breakdown of how they did Luke, just like a quick little face thing, whatever. But maybe they don't want to give away too much of that.
I want to see the actor, like the guy that, because they put up the IMDb of who that dude is. And it's like,
But it's interesting, Cody, because if you have a practical set and you just have the LED wall fill in the background, I mean, is that even considered a visual effect? It's a visual effect that's in camera, like you said, right? It's not actually done in, like, you don't necessarily have to do anything in post unless you're adding additional CG or, CG characters or CG objects.
Yeah, I think the Ahsoka shot in that reel, if I'm remembering correctly, I can't recall if they actually showed what was the stagecraft, what was the volume. Yeah. It looked like the trees and stuff that were like background were all volume, but it looked like some of even the fog was added in post, which was obviously it was on the ILM reel, and then obviously the lightsabers were ILM that Ahsoka had. So that was kind of a cool one where you could almost kind of see like all of them in tandem, like the LED wall, the practical, the actor, and some of what they added. And it was kind of cool to see like, some of that like fog and stuff wasn't actually, a practical fog machine or hazer or whatever. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, lots of layers, lots of compositing. So you do get a breakdown of that, which is pretty neat. Yep, totally agree. So anyway, that's out there to watch. I think it's on ILM's YouTube channel, actually, on YouTube, but search for it. I'm sure everybody can find it. Some other quick notes. Erin Kellyman, who actually played Enfys Nest, she is, if you don't know, if you haven't seen it yet, but she actually is making the rounds, the press tour right now, because she is involved in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is on Disney Plus right now. She's a character on that show. And of course, she got asked about Star Wars and mentioned that she'd be totally up for playing Enfys Nest again. should they do anything beyond Solo. My quick question to both of you is, do you want to see her in a Solo continuation, or actually do you want to see a separate thing with Enfys Nest actually being the main port? Cody?
Haven't thought a ton about that. I liked her. I liked the reveal. I think Enfys Nest was a really cool character, obviously the design.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really do a lot in the acting department, I feel like. So I don't really know if I care a ton about like her character in Solo, like, to be honest.
Right.
To know more about. So I don't know if I'd want a show just like about her and her gang, to be honest. I probably would rather see her pop up in like another Solo sort of thing, or if it was another Disney Plus thing that just happened to take place in that time period, which we probably are getting Disney Plus things that are in the time period where she could appear, you know. I mean, it's not out of the realm that she could be out and about during the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah. Guys?
Yeah, every time they come out with a new show that fills in that gap of that era, I always feel like, with anything that fills in the gap of any Star Wars era, it's like, how much more room do they have to tell and introduce new characters and give them a full story and still have a place in this war in which we already know what's happening, who the players and how it ends. So it's like Enfys Nest she's cool. Like, what they do is cool. She's cool. She, kicks butt, and it's awesome. And obviously, and I would love to see a continuation of the Solo world, where she certainly would have a part to play in that. But if she had her own show, which I'm sure they can figure something out, obviously. But like, I just don't know what role would she play if she's a part of Saul's partisans, which it's pretty much confirmed right through like the Solo novel. I think kind of made that
at least that they're working together. Yeah.
So is she just kind of managing her own little cell, doing kind of the same stuff that everybody else was doing? So it's like, how much of her story would be unique in terms of what their goal and their journey is? It's like, do I want to see another story of just another cell fighting the Empire? At what point? I feel like we're at that point that it's now a beaten story, but she's a new character. She could have a fresh context to the war and all that. So there could be a new angle there for her and her gang. But I just don't know. I don't know what that story would be, but not to say that there couldn't be a story, because obviously there's amazing writers out there. They can do whatever they want. But right now, like, the obvious direction would be putting her into a continuation of the Solo story. She could play a bigger part in that. Doesn't have to be about Solo necessarily. Yeah. I think it's definitely in the cards.
The one additional thing that sort of like popped in my head, and I feel like I've read this somewhere, so it's probably not my own thought, but her being like this Dread Pirate Roberts type, like from Princess Bride, where she put on this armor and mask, but it's not her persona that she created. Like, where did this Enfys Nest sort of like thing come from? And that could interest me a little more than just like her specific character of like, did somebody else in a time period that takes place before Solo create this sort of feared, whatever she is? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that actually would be that actually would be good. I'd see that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how she would fall into another Solo story. So that would be interesting. But I think I'm leaning more towards I was leaning more towards either a continuation of other recruits that she's getting, other ways that she's helping this rebellion, because it almost seems like she's a cell of the new rebellion, right? That's happening. But I like that, Cody. I like the Enfys Nest character, not her character. Because I would that'd be a question: is she called Enfys Nest, or is the outfit Enfys Nest, right? So That's pretty good. I like that.
It's got to be one of the weirdest Star Wars names, right?
Yeah. In fact, I didn't assume it was a person's name when I first heard it. Thought it was maybe a group. It described the group, but it seems like it's her.
Like a biker gang.
Yes. Emphasis nest, like emphasis, like that was like apostrophe S, emphasis nest.
Emphasis nest.
Emphasis nest.
Why would you have the name fits her aesthetic. It's like she has that kind of wilderness look with not feathers, but all that kind of style. So it's like a biker gang from the woods. It's like a wilderness gang that's just feral and they just are rough and tough, and so it has a cool vibe. But interesting to know more. I mean, I wouldn't, if it's her specifically, I wouldn't see a prequel, because that would kind of defeat the reveal, the purpose of the reveal. But it's something continuing. I mean, I'm sure there's something there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other quick note: Kevin Feige apparently has. I haven't seen the exact quote, but apparently he's come out and said that he's not involved in any Disney Plus series. Apparently, he's still working on a film project, possibly for Lucasfilm down the road. But none of these Disney Plus series, it looks like that we're getting, has Kevin Feige involved. So I don't know. You guys upset by that at all? Case? No? Yes?
No, I mean it's.
I mean, I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on, but that's not like a closed door. I mean, he could just still do something later on. I mean, he's already got his foot in the door with this one movie, so what's to say he won't do more stuff, whether it's Disney Plus movies, not series, but movies, or theatrical stuff. But it's just because we always thought, I was thinking that maybe he was at least a consultant on how do you weave together a shared universe. He's not producing anything, but it's just like having a meeting and discussing stuff. So if that still happened, who knows? But I'm sure. I'm not bummed about it at all, and I'm not too surprised that he's not producing more. But because I feel like they would have already said something that would have been a big investor announcement, I would think. So, but the one movie, I definitely am excited about that. The fact that he's doing one movie is pretty cool.
Cody?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think, I would be very excited if they said that he was, like, if he had the bandwidth. I think that's the other question, is like, he probably just can't, not that they're even asking him, but I would think his one movie turns into more. Just his track record alone, I think, speaks for itself with Marvel. But, you keep in mind, Jon Favreau, when he did Iron Man, I'm not super in touch with the inner workings of when Feige was hired and produced, but Feige might not have even really been that involved when Favreau did the first Iron Man. I might be wrong. If I
think he's been there from the beginning. I think he has been.
He definitely wasn't in his current role, which is like
I think he was just a producer,
creative officer.
I think he was just a producer.
So I think you got to keep in mind that Favreau played a big part in kicking that whole universe off. Obviously, Iron Man 1 is great. We're seeing it with what he's able to do on The Mandalorian, 2 seasons. So I think him and Filoni have a great rhythm. You can still be inspired by somebody like Kevin Feige in a shared universe. Feige doesn't have to have the monopoly on, doing the shared universe the right way. They can take inspiration from him and make it work for Star Wars. And it seems like from the slate they announced, they are having a shared universe with, the Mandoverse, or however you want to coin that, Filoni Favreau verse.
It's almost like they invite him into the room. He gets in there. He already sees Filoni at the table, like talking about these things. He's like, "Oh, you're good. Okay, we'll give you this movie for your time.
Yeah,
we don't you for the other things.
Can I at least make a movie?
Yeah, exactly.
I have ideas.
That's good. No. Yeah, I just, there's always that work description, right? That if you have a lot going on, you can kind of see some of that suffering, some of the stories suffering. So, he's got how many Disney Plus series on the Marvel side that's coming out? That's part of the MCU, and you got this. So it just makes sense that he's not involved. Like you said, Case, I think it's consultant maybe at the highest right now. But I mean, maybe once these MCU series starts, those creators can kind of take those off on their own. Maybe he can do it. I would totally welcome it. I think he's definitely proven that he can tell good stories. I'd be interested. The biggest thing is, being involved in this movie is, he's known as the producer, right? So who's going to direct this movie? Who's going to write this movie that he's doing? Probably someone from the Marvel universe maybe comes over. Maybe it's the Russo brothers. Love those guys. Right?
Dude, that would be, I mean, those guys don't miss lately. Like,
no,
that would be incredible if it happened. That's the one thing where it's like, those guys would need to make like every creative decision. I mean, assuming, because I've listened to commentaries from them and their writing partners, which is 2 writers.
Yeah.
So it's 4 of them, which I feel like just creates this great like checks and balances. Anyway,
absolutely.
I obviously like the Russo brothers. I feel like that would be a weird situation because they would have to have more creative control than like all the Lucasfilm execs. And I'd be totally fine with it. I'd be like, whatever they decide, just say yes.
Yeah.
Don't question them. But I feel like that would be a weird situation where, like, I don't know if they would ever want that. But,
do that, right? Interesting.
Yeah. That would be epic, though.
That would be epic. Let's see. Some news. I don't know if any discussion is needed necessarily, but because there's not a lot of insight on these really about where this is going, but there was some news about a new novel that got announced called Ronin, which is going to be based on the Visions series that we're going to get. So the Vision series that we know, we don't know too much about that besides it being inspired by. It seems like inspired more by anime, but there is going to be a book called Ronin that comes out based on that. And the series, The Acolyte, that is coming out on Disney Plus. All we know about that, it's being showrunned by I can't remember. Yeah,
Headland.
Leslie Headland. Yeah, it's Leslie Headland, I think. Good save, Case. That takes place at the end of the High Republic era. Now, how long does the High Republic last necessarily? We don't really know yet. We know that the book series that's out there right now has 3 phases. Again, how long do those phases last? We don't know. But according to some of the writers that have come out and talked about the novels that they're writing, they're saying that The Acolyte has had no impact on the stories that they're telling right now. So The Acolyte is going to be something that's after all this, and it doesn't seem like these things are leading to that. I don't know. Do you get a sense of that with that kind of announcement, Case?
I hope so, and that alleviates some worries now about the whole High Republic era a little bit. Of why would you book in before the era even starts? Why would you go ahead and make something at the end of the era? And thankfully, maybe this means there's no characters from that are crossing over. Like we're not going to have major, or I guess main characters. Like main characters of the Acolyte may not be. Most likely are not going to be the main characters that we're currently seeing from the High Republic, which is good. So it's not like, it's not spoiling anything. If we're getting High Republic books at the same time as the Acolyte show, we're not going to see all of a sudden this character die or something like that before we read it in the books. So that's good, and I'm hopeful that that it's just another part of the galaxy, just another set of characters that don't have anything to do with this great disaster or whatever it is, but still within that era. Maybe it has more to do with the films, I guess, leading up to Phantom Menace. But it is kind of making me a little happier that they're not doing this whatever backward storytelling thing that they always do.
Yeah, Cody.
Yeah, I feel like from a development standpoint, the Acolyte probably isn't written yet, so they obviously couldn't really be inspired by it if it doesn't exist. But maybe they've got ideas for it and treatments and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's helpful, like Casey said, for the storytelling, for it to be more separate. It gives, I think, as much as they can, they should give any creator more freedom, right? Not so boxed into, you have to end here with this character doing this, and then this show has to use these characters or cast this person, because I mean, it's hard. I think we've seen it, and it's worked in a lot of things where they're obviously everything's canon and it ties together, but it's hard to take a character, jump them from one medium to another. It might not always work out. Luckily, we've had some characters like Ahsoka from animated to live action that it's worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
But these books are so new, like they're not really caught on yet. They still need to kind of prove if they can withstand the test of time and get other people's attention outside of just book readers.
That's right. Yep, totally agree with that. Okay, last bit of news before we dive into the Obi-Wan cast is, again, I don't know how much discussion we could have, but apparently Sebastian Stan, of course, who plays the Winter Soldier, is doing some press junkets out there and got asked about the rumors of him playing a young Luke Skywalker, or the Luke Skywalker that is after Return of the Jedi. And, of course, basically came down to him saying he's not heard anything about it. The only way he would actually do it is if Mark Hamill actually called him and said, you are allowed to play this character. So I don't know, just based on that, yes or no, is he going to play Luke eventually? Do you really think he will actually play Luke Skywalker, Cody?
I feel like the clock's ticking. I feel like based on this answer, and I don't know, this is always so hard because the dude acts in a ton of Marvel stuff, so he knows how to not spill secrets. So this is a classic answer of he didn't say no.
That's right.
But he also hasn't talked to Mark Hamill, and that's a condition of his. And he's just playing with the audience because that him and Mark Hamill have been tweeted on things together in social media and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say no, just because the clock is ticking on him aging to get to that character. And I feel like the stories they're going to want to tell in and around the Mandalorian universe are going to potentially start happening post season 3 of Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to check in on Grogu and Luke, it's going to have to be in the next couple years. But I don't know. He can probably shave and do it.
Yeah, well, it is difficult personally for me. It's now that you've already set the standard that it's a superimposed face on a body double, it's I feel like you got to stick with that. You can still use Sebastian Stan because he looks so much like him already, but just obviously do something to digitally to make him look even more like Mark Hamill, near identical. So that's just, again, my personal thing, and they can do whatever they want and I'll be fine with it. But it's his backwards talking, and so he could already be. It's he hasn't heard anything. He hasn't heard that the it's greenlit, the deal isn't signed. And he said the only way he would do it is if Mark Hamill called them. Well, maybe that already happened. He's just saying that's the only way I would do it. Secretly, it's already happened, and he already did call me and told me I could play Skywalker. But I don't think it's happened. I don't think he's playing Skywalker.
Yeah, I don't either. Right now, I don't think it's going to happen. But I also was one of the ones that said they would never bring Luke Skywalker back in The Mandalorian. But then I decided, it has to be him the way it's going. But how they did it, I didn't really expect it. So, I'm with you. If Falcon and Winter Soldier is as popular as it seems like it is, it's getting a lot of good reviews. It's going to be hard to plus movies if he's going to. I guess the biggest question is he actually going to be in any more MCU movies? I don't know. It doesn't sound like any of these ones come out involve the Winter Soldier, but who knows? Because there's no announcement yet on any kind of Avengers movies and whatnot. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. A comment from him. Okay, so let's get into talking about this. One of the other big reveals besides the Bad Batch trailer over the last week was the reveal of the cast of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is starting to shoot next month. There were 12 people revealed. Some we already knew, obviously Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. There was definitely hopes that we would get Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen back, and it looks like we have in Bonnie. I can't. I'm going to butcher all these names.
I think it's Peace.
Peace. Okay, Bonnie Peace and Joel Edgerton. So good news there. But then we have all new characters from. Not necessarily characters, all new cast that we don't know. That's what we're going to talk about is possibly the characters that they're playing. But Moses Ingram, you got Kumail Nanjiani. I'm going to butcher these.
Nanjiani.
Nanjiani. Yeah, but we knew Indira Varma, right? Was that a rumor?
Yeah.
Was that never confirmed?
No, actually, you're right. That was revealed. Yes. Rupert Friend, you got O'Shea Jackson, Sung Kang, Simone Kessel, and then Benny Safdie. So let's go first. I want to just, I guess in general, just ask you guys, like, what are the possibilities that anybody here are going to be playing any characters that we know? I mean, we know Aunt Beru and we know Uncle Owen. But the other ones, are any of these characters playing characters that we know, or do you actually think that maybe these are all new characters? Case.
I think for the most part they're going to be new characters. The only two things, Rupert, most of these actors, I've heard of like half of them. I think I definitely have heard of at least half of them. But I looked at the rest of them. Most of them, they're all like serious drama actors, most of them, with the exception of Kumail. But he's a funny guy. But so it's like I feel like they're all going to be new characters and like very serious. Like this feels like it's going to be a very serious, dramatic show based off this cast. And Rupert Friend is out of this group is the one I know of. Who like I just have heard of him. He's more mainstream to me, so it's like I feel like maybe he could be given a character that possibly could be well known. Whether that, but the only thing is like who could that be at this point that hasn't that we know exists in this timeline but hasn't been introduced in live action world yet, or so it's like I don't know, like maybe it could be another Jedi. Maybe, who's to say Obi-Wan doesn't run into another Jedi? So
right.
That would be pretty cool, but I don't know who that would be. I don't know that's an existing character. So really, it just feels like everybody's going to be pretty new. Moses Ingram, I'm not sure because I'm not familiar with this character's full history and age-wise where it fits, but Sana Staros came to mind. I know there's a lot of rumors about her specifically being called out, like she could be an Inquisitor. I'm not familiar with her career, so I don't know if her career leads itself to her being a villain. But
she has tweeted apparently or something about her messing with lightsabers.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah. So there's that. Indira Varma, and again, when she was announced, I think we talked a little bit about who she can play. I think we were all maybe on the same page that she's probably a new character. So yeah, I think they're all going to be pretty much new characters. I really cannot. Nothing jumps out to me, but so who knows?
Cody, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just overall, I think this is a great cast. Casey kind of mentioned they're all a lot of them are in some drama related either shows or movies, or a lot of them have multiple credits to their name. So I think this is an awesome cast, just from a strictly just like if all these people were cast in a movie, not Obi-Wan, not Star Wars, I'd be like, this is an amazing ensemble cast.
Absolutely.
I would say if you look at like Mando season 1, a lot of that was new characters. Season 2, they started to dive into a lot more of the cameo characters. So I would guess this goes more of that route of new characters, especially because just, how these people all look. I think there are a couple that could be people that we know. Moses Ingram, before I saw the Instagram post about the lightsabers, I thought, well, maybe she could be, and I didn't know if the timeline would work out like a Ray Sloan, or like a younger, just because of her age being younger than where we saw Ray Sloan in books and stuff. But I don't know if we'll have like Imperial sort of references. But her mentioning lightsabers, unless she's just being like coy, I do think it's like, okay, she's gotta be an Inquisitor, unless it is another Jedi that's running around that Obi-Wan meets. But I just feel like that
would be a big slip, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a huge slip. I think it's already a huge slip.
Yeah.
I think some of these people that have never worked on Star Wars before are about to have a talking to.
You were hired for one day. No.
Yeah. I don't know if any of the other ones could be people that we've seen. I feel like there will be a lot of like smuggler type in and around the Mos Eisley. Once we go line by line, we might be able to like speculate about who they could be. But only other existing character, maybe Rupert Friend, as to me, he looks really Imperial. Something about,
I was about to say
it's
that
his
too.
Jaw shape, and I don't actually know the actor super well. Is he British?
I don't know that.
I think he is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he is. I only know him as Hitman.
I didn't realize
he was Pride and Prejudice, which I never saw, but I'm assuming he's British.
Wait, he was which Hitman? Because I thought Timothy Oliphant was
right.
Hitman.
He's the new Hitman.
He's the new Hitman. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the Timothy Oliphant one.
Yeah,
I didn't see the one with Rupert Friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he could be Imperial. I don't know if there's like a specific Imperial that would make sense for Obi-Wan. I feel like it's going to lean more into Vader and that side of like if they didn't put
the young Thrawn.
They didn't put
mother in this list.
Tamora Morrison on this, but I do feel like a clone, is likely to pop up because you already got Tamora Morrison filming Book of Boba Fett right now.
Well, wrapping that up. There were rumors about a Commander Cody being, in it as well, right? So yeah, I'm with you. Tamora Morrison is left off of here, but again, I think that goes back to. I do believe I'm with you that I think these are all new characters, just because what I mean by new characters is they're not playing characters that we know of from either books or comics or anything like that. Because and the reason why I don't think they're listed on here is, I think they are holding back a little bit, some possible cameos from like Jimmy Smits or Tamara Morrison. You have Owen and Beru, who's playing Luke? There's got to be a Luke somewhere in there, right? 10-year-old Luke somewhere. So I don't know. I think those characters would possibly make cameos. Now, another thing I wanted to point out really fast too. They labeled this is StarWars.com. They label this as a special event series. Right? It's not just a limited series or just a Disney Plus series. It's a special event series. Not exactly sure what that means, but
it's a pay-per-view. Vader v. Kenobi pay-per-view.
Exactly.
It's the main event.
So I'm wondering, I mean, it's first to start off as a 6-episode series, and maybe it's a 4-episode series. And, maybe it's going to be just one big movie. I don't know. A special event. It's a series, so it has to be episodic, I'm assuming. But man, it's going to be a question of how long this thing is. So I'm with you. I actually think my first thought was Moses Ingram was an Inquisitor. Just because of that slip with the lightsabers, I think that she could possibly be an Inquisitor. Of course, she's standing right in the cast list. She's right next to Hayden. You've got Rupert. Cody, I don't know. You read my mind. I think Imperial right away. Right when I saw him, I'm thinking Imperial right away. Probably like an admiral or a commander or something that is working with Vader. Indira, I think, there were rumors out there that possibly she's maybe playing a Satine, like a flashback. I don't think that's going to happen, but who could she play? Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure about the bottom list of characters or actors. I'm not sure where they fall in. Probably. Oh, here's a question: are most of these characters on Tatooine, or are they off world somewhere? Right? I don't see. I don't know. I'm pretty much on the fence, on the side of the fence that thinks that this series is going to be off world. I think there's going to be some of it there, obviously, with Owen and Beru. But I think Obi-Wan's got to leave off-world. I don't know. You think that, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's not only going to take place on Tatooine. I think if it is less episodes, I think it lends itself to more likely keeping them in a singular sort of location for a lot of reasons, production and just story-wise. But as I'm like thinking about this cast and how, Vader's involved, obviously, how if they do have an Inquisitor, they've got all these new people, probably somebody gets wind that Obi-Wan's a Jedi, and maybe it's somebody who's not related to the Empire and kind of sells them out, or it's this huge like thing where he is like at first just trying to, hide who he is, but he has to use the Force or a lightsaber in some way. I feel like a few of these, I do have some guesses for, so Sung Kang is in the Fast and Furious movies. Mm-hmm. And this may be like low hanging fruit of like he played this, so it would make sense that he's like a pilot. It would make sense that he's like a racing like speeders or speeder bikes or something, because he did a lot of that kind of action type stuff. I could see that being kind of cool. I don't know if pod racing would be a thing in this sort of era.
It should be, yeah. Probably.
I think it could be cool if they recontextualized it or did some kind of like more underground racing. I think it's like, to me, it was what I wanted them to do with Han in Solo, but they didn't. Like, I felt like we got teased that like he was in this speeder and involved in this chase scene, and I think the chase scene was fun. But I wanted them to like call back to American Graffiti, which was George Lucas, and that Ron Howard connection. I was like, how did they not do that? It would be really awesome if they do cast a young Luke. I don't know where this sort of goes, but maybe you have an episode or a part of an episode that doesn't follow Obi-Wan, and you've got this character who's like, this racer or this speed bike sort of racer or speeder, and maybe Luke kind of gets involved there, and you kind of see his tendencies to want to be a pilot, and how good he is, the fact that he's got the Force, little vibes of like Anakin at that age. I think that would be a fun way, if we do stay on Tatooine, to involve a few of these people.
Interesting. Yeah, guys.
I would have been just fine with if it was just Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, and Joel Edgerton. I feel like them two together is just going to be amazing. And we'll probably leave the show not having enough of them, but like together. But it's like Vader versus Obi-Wan. He's going to have to go off world. talking about smugglers, I had the same thought. Like I was immediately thinking of like Kumail and Shea Jackson Jr. and Sun Kang as being like part of this just funny. Each one feel like it would have a very different personality with it, which is what you want in like a smuggler, mercenary, whatever they are, and they maybe transfer Obi-Wan off. Like you got to think of Mos Eisley and it's like the cantina. It's like how does Obi-Wan know to go there for like seeking passage? I mean, obviously, it's probably not hard to figure out, obviously, but that's what I think happens a lot of the time in these stories is they find one little detail like that line that Obi-Wan says to Luke. It's like, okay, how does he know that? Well, let's explain that in this show. So it's like then they spend some time explaining this one little detail. Maybe that's where he goes into Mos Eisley, finds these characters in that cantina, and that's similar Han Solo, but maybe with more comedic spin. That's how he gets off planet, and it's like he has to get off planet to fight Vader. If that's actually how it's gonna be, literally fighting Vader again, how they're gonna make that work. But otherwise, if Hayden wasn't in this at all and no mention of Vader, I would think he was 100% staying on Tatooine, because I just see Obi-Wan as always, as he is that Boy Scout. Like he's so devoted to the cause, and right now his cause is Luke, and so devoted to that. Like, why would he ever leave Tatooine? Even though it's such a like hellish sentence for yourself to spend who knows how long on this desert planet, he would do it. So Vader would be the only reason why he would go off planet, in my opinion. But maybe he'll do it for other things as well. Who knows?
Yeah, in my head when I was younger, he was always Obi-Wan was just sitting in that hut.
Yeah,
but I guess that wouldn't make a good series for Disney Plus.
Yeah. No, my theory is that he gets wind of Vader's castle and he just shows up and knocks on his door and says, "Let's do it." No,
let's go. You and me outside.
Here's the thing too. What I'm thinking and I agree with you, Case. I think that's a good point to say that there's always repetition and different beats of the same thing, and him going to the Mos Eisley Cantina. Absolutely, I think that's inevitable, and I think I could definitely see guys like O'Shea and Sung and Kumail, like you said, maybe even Benny or Simone. Maybe they're, like you said, pilots. Maybe they're all in the cantina at some point. Here's the thought too that I'm thinking is that it's more than likely that one or two of these characters are actually playing possibly CG characters, right? And they're just voicing them. Kumail might be actually that type of person where there's like a comedic alien or somebody that's, needs some really good voice animation, and voice acting, and maybe that's him. I don't know. But it's probably safe to say that we're not necessarily going to see all of these people's faces in the series. So, I guess that's a pretty good discussion. Any other thoughts on the cast or what else we could see, Cody?
When you mentioned that CG part, it was kind of made me thinking Kumail could be, because of his comedic background, he could be a droid. We need the classic droid. I don't know. Obi-Wan, didn't probably have a droid of his own, but like Casey said, classic Star Wars. He goes into the cantina or somewhere. He's on the run. He needs to get off world. Maybe he doesn't have a ship. Obi-Wan hates flying, so somebody else has got to fly him. He gets involved with the crew. Classic other Star Wars sort of trope. And there's got to be some annoying but lovable droid. And he would make a really good a droid character. But
Case, final thoughts of anything?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned like Moses Ingram up there on the top row. That same almost trap that we did when we first got the round table reading from Force Awakens cast. Like we were thinking, like, hey, Daisy really sitting in between Carrie Fisher, So it's like, so I don't want to fall into that same trap, but it does, like, it still just lends itself to that, that they seem to be related, because you have Joel Edgerton somewhat next to Bonnie Keith, So obviously you're making those connections. So I that bottom row there being like a crew will be pretty cool. maybe Kumail is just a droid working somewhat, working. I don't know if droids are allowed in that cantina as of yet, and I guess they're not. This is before A New Hope, so droids aren't allowed in that cantina. But maybe he's still a droid somewhere in the town. But and Indira, I'm still leaning towards her. I don't want to say love interest for Obi-Wan, but that kind of romantic interest that never really materializes. Because again, I think Ewan McGregor is that Boy Scout, so he's got to stay true to the code, even though it's essentially dead now. But I think Indira is going to be she's kind of middle to the right. If we're judging by importance of these characters, I think she's going to be pretty. I get the feeling she'd be a pretty important character. But so it's. As we've already said, this does look like a fantastic cast. Cannot wait. I just cannot wait.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. It is a fantastic cast, and again, I think you could probably add another row of 4 people and throw in familiar faces that we do know that I think are going to make those appearances, like a Jimmy Smits, like a Genevieve O'Reilly who plays Mon Mothma. I wonder if it's going to go there. I mean, maybe it doesn't go there at all. Maybe there is no rebellion aspect to this. I hope there is. I don't know. Do you guys think there actually will be a rebellion aspect? This is 10 years after Episode 1. It's not quite, to Rogue One. It's not quite to Rebels yet, where the alliance is even formed. There are rebel cells out there, and of course we know Ahsoka's out there. We know Jimmy Smits Bail Organa's out there recruiting. So I don't know, Casey. Is the rebellion actually make an appearance in this series at all?
I think there's plenty of room for a glimpse, like an Easter egg or whatever it is. And I was just thinking, what if one of these characters? What if it is the Indira Varma character? Just because I was already on her, but like maybe that could be a twist. She gets close to Obi-Wan. Turns out she is part of the Rebel Alliance, and she tries to recruit him. I don't know, or something like that. But she was sent there, to try to recruit him, and Obi-Wan rejects it. Rejects the call, whatever.
Or warn him, maybe
sure.
that he's getting discovered, maybe, or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would love it. It's like you think if this is a special event, if there's no thought of a next season, I would throw out all, it's like Mandalorians do it. Just go all out and do everything you can. Obviously, as long as the story makes sense and it feeds into the story. But it feels like it would make total sense, to have, it just depends on how long these episodes are going to be. If it's a limited 6-episode series that are 30-40 minute long episodes, I don't know if you have enough time. I don't know how big these stories are going to be. So, if it's going to be kind of like the Sherlock Holmes route, where it's like 3-4 episodes, but they're all each an hour and a half long. It's like that's a lot of content. So you might have, but I think there's plenty of room, and I think they definitely should include the rebellion in some form in this.
Mm-hmm. Cody?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel like there's got to be an inclusion, but it's definitely, obviously, Obi-Wan's going to have to, not want to, or something else takes his attention away, or he's devoted to, I've got to stay or go back to Tatooine if he does go off world at some point because Luke's there. I love the idea of one of these characters trying to recruit him, because then you have I think this show's purpose should be, let's challenge Obi-Wan on every level we can, emotionally, physically, from different factions. You've got probably smugglers and just sort of criminals and stuff on Tatooine. You've got the struggle with him and Uncle Owen over Luke and his future. And if you throw Obi-Wan back into the fold with the Empire on his tail, and there's a potential rebel, person that's trying to, like you said, recruit him, then it really leaves a really interesting sort of conversation of this rebel could be like Cassian. They've been in the fight since they were 5 years old. Wouldn't you do anything you can to stop the Empire? You have, you're a Jedi, you have the Force, and here's all these people who just, are taking up what they can and scrounging together for the rebellion. Like, that's a really interesting, like, oh, wow, like, why wouldn't Obi-Wan actually get involved again if he had an opportunity to turn the tide of this war? And I think it really challenges him. So I would love to see that pop up if they try to go that route.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think like you just made me think that would actually be a good emotional pull for him, because if you think about it, so it's been 10 years, and more than likely he has not left Tatooine in 10 years. He has been there, one eye on Luke, one eye on danger, and he is committed to what he's doing. Training, he's still training, right? I mean, he's still using the Force and learning, and Yoda obviously had him trained to be able to go beyond the living Force. So what possibly could it be to pull him off world other than Darth Vader? Is it possible that after 10 years, he doesn't actually know that Vader is still alive? He could, like you say, somebody like an Indira, or maybe if it's, maybe it's Kumail, I don't know. Maybe they come to him and say, look, Vader is wiping us out. Or there's an incident somewhere where Vader is there and coming, I don't know, and somebody's in danger, I don't know, the rebellion or somebody's in, and that actually pulls Obi-Wan out of hiding. Not necessarily, so he doesn't get discovered, but he comes out of hiding to stop something or prevent Vader, and that's where the clash happens. And then, of course, Vader has to either think he kills him, maybe, or probably doesn't have to, but at that point, he's still searching maybe for him still. But I don't know. That's a good point. I think there has to be something there that starts questioning not necessarily questioning, but something that drives him emotionally off of Tatooine in order to keep Luke safe, keep that secret safe, as well as give him a reason, for some reason, to go and fight Vader.
Man, you mentioning that, I mean, it really makes me think, and I don't know if they could go here, but Obi-Wan's I feel like, what could pull him away emotionally, other than Luke, is you've got Leia out there with Bail. What could bring Bail into it?
Wow.
I mean, a little bit of weird, like, mirroring. Obviously, Vader goes after Leia in the ship, right, beginning of New Hope, sort of into Rogue One. But could there be, Leia could be anywhere in the galaxy with Bail and with, them, maybe there's danger, and, this is Anakin's other child.
That's right.
That I feel like Obi-Wan would be just as committed if there were danger, and Bail's the one requesting
his help.
And then why did Leia know to call on Obi-Wan? It's like, if you call on Obi-Wan, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
That sort of, like, that's what Leia knew growing up from Bail. So I don't know.
Very cool.
I mean, surely they'd bring maybe the original actress back. Could Indira be playing Bail's wife?
Possibly. Yeah. I
can't remember her name.
Yeah, I remember the actress who played her.
Well, even the character's name.
Bria.
Yeah, I think that's close, actually. I'll look it up real quick, but that's a very good Bria. Nice
Bria.
Ace Bria Organa.
Got every character behind my computer right here. You can't see it.
It's got man, that's like a huge sheet of knowledge.
And Rebecca Jackson Mendoza was the original actress that played her in episode 3. So anyway, so I would think they would go after and bring her back if she was playing the same character. But, I don't know. We only got one shot of her at the end of episode 3. So anyway, okay, yeah. Case, you got any final things or thoughts?
You mentioned a fourth row. I was thinking Jimmy Smits, Genevieve O'Reilly, Tamar Morrison, and Liam Neeson. That's the fourth row.
Oh,
it's
man.
gonna happen.
Liam Neeson, gotta be a voice cameo.
I was about to say, we can't see him, right? We can't hear him.
Man, it's the Force. He could suck him into a Force vision where he's in person. They can do whatever they want.
That's true.
Fanboys would just get used to it.
Man, Liam Neeson, that would be so good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great call.
Okay, so Rebecca Jackson Mendoza, who's 48 right now, is an Australian actress, singer, and dancer. Her only film credit is episode 3.
Mm.
So it could make sense to replace her with an experienced actress if it's going to be someone like that. But probably a low percentage of that. But you never know. Never know. All right, so obviously we will dive into this obviously more too as more and more production starts on that next month, which means I would think, could we get, probably can't get a teaser by May the 4th.
There could be something.
There could be something.
There's something.
I mean, this is the biggest thing they have coming to Disney Plus, right? Like,
I think it's by far the most anticipated, even beyond season 3 of Mandalorian. I think this is on the top of most Star Wars fans. I by far agree with you.
I mean, this is a long time coming. Since Disney bought it, everybody was wanting it, and it started as a movie, I think. That idea of like how long in the scripts, but I mean, could this come out next fall? Is that realistic timeline wise? I'm trying to remember how the Mandalorian production to when it
I think that sounds about right. I mean, year and a half of
You saying next, like fall 2022, Cody?
Yeah. Obviously not this year.
I definitely think it'll be December. It'll be 2022. I definitely think it'll be 2022. I think it could be summer 2022. I think if it's limited like this, you're talking again 4 to 6 episodes. I think you definitely could get this done and out by next year, because you got to think about Boba Fett is debuting in December. You probably have that go into 2022. I think Andor is going to come right after that, and or one of the other, season 3 of Mandalorian or Andor. But Andor is about to wrap shooting, whereas season 3 is about to start shooting. So you kind of think maybe Andor will be first, then season 3 and Obi-Wan are shooting together. So that's a question, and this is a question I've had with my other co-host Martin on the Mandalore podcast is are these, do we think at all, this is the last question for you, both of you, do you ever think that any of these series are going to overlap? Or is it always just going to be one series at a time for Star Wars? Case, what do you think of that? You think we'll get overlapping series ever? Because it doesn't look like we're getting... Marvel doesn't look like they're ever going to overlap.
I think it's possible. Either way is fine, honestly. Like it's cool to think of it, maybe if they eventually want it to be every week of the year is an episode.
Yes.
That would be fine by me.
That's totally fine by me.
Clearly it's because you had like the CW shows, it was like every day of the week you had a CW show pretty much.
That's right.
So it's, which one would you prefer? It's almost like that kind of thought, but either way, man, it's all good to me.
Cody, you think they're going to overlap?
Yeah, They'll never overlap. I'll definitively go that far. They don't have enough to fill up every day of the year, or even if you wanted to say like fall and spring.
Right.
2022 looks to be, I think, as you mentioned it and rattled them off, 3 series just on the live action side that we know of. Animated, you throw in there, maybe there's 4 series happening. I think eventually, hopefully, they get to where Marvel is already at, where every week you're getting something Marvel.
Right.
You know, WandaVision, straight into Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're going to go straight into Loki. Might be a break because I know they've got Black Widow. So I think it could be like a Mando season 3, Andor, Obi-Wan. You know, maybe they stretch it out so there's time in between for marketing, and whatnot. You know, like a couple weeks of like build up and hype.
But next year, you got
hopefully it's like every week.
Yes, I agree. Because next year, you got to think this at some point. You got to squeeze in and probably another season of Bad Batch in there as well. You got the Star Wars Vision series, which is an animated series. That's looks like it probably would be ready to premiere next year. So every week is what it looks like, but depending on how many episodes these series are, we'll have to see. So, but next year it seems like it's going to be a lot of Star Wars content, Disney Plus content anyway. And we're not even talking about when the next movie's coming out yet, so it's crazy. All right, that's a good length episode there for you. Lots to talk about there, lots to dive into, and we will keep continuing that conversation as more news comes out. I think this is some fantastic reveals, things we've been waiting to see and hear, and we are definitely starting to get them. I mean, Andor is the next. We haven't even talked about that, and that's about to wrap. I'm sure there's going to be a deeper trailer of that coming soon as well, as we try to figure out what's happening in that series. So, yes. So thanks everybody. Again, our 8-year anniversary episode in a sense. We're still kicking and we're still going. So as long as there's a ton of Star Wars to talk about, we'll keep talking about it. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can check out our other series that me and Casey talked about on our last episode. Council Sessions, Beyond the Saga, and our new series, Masters of the Order, that we've been talking about with some people that have actually been to that galaxy far, far away and actually been part of these stories. I got a great interview I'm doing on Friday. I'm not going to say who it is because I want to wait till it's done, and then we'll put it out there. But really looking forward to discussing Star Wars with this person. And we're all over the podcast feed, so hit that subscribe button if you can. Thanks everybody for checking us out. Case, 8 years going strong, man. Thanks for hanging out with us doing this stuff.
Yeah, man. And
good luck to when the kids come. We'll let everybody know when they get here. Miles and Madeline, right? Miles and Madeline.
Yep.
Not Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably call them Luke and Leia.
I'll change it when they're born.
Maybe for Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, easily. Cody, thanks for joining us over the last few years, and
it's been awesome. I've loved it.
Yeah,
so.
And we'll keep going with you, and we'll keep doing some Star Wars content. So, thanks everybody for watching, listening. Take care. For Cody Geiler.
See you around.
For Case Cooley.
Bye, everybody.
I'm David Cottingham. May the Force be with you.